see the final score, we track the revenue stream. Welcome to the show that treats the sports world like the multi-billion-dollar business it is. We dissect the ownership deals, the television right battles, the NIL impact, and the media figures driving the entire narrative. From Wall Street to the locker room, we follow the money and the people who control the message. Welcome to Press Row, the business of sports, right here on the Empty the Bench Network. Now, here's your hosts, Callan and McClurg and Nick Morgasen.
Well, hello again, my friends, on this still April 22nd, 2026 out here on the West Coast. It's already Thursday in Plainview, New York. As we usually say, though, folks, whenever you see Nick Morgasen and I come on before Press Row or after the show's over, you know things aren't good in the wide world of sports and sports business or media. But, of course, Nick, I've been out of the loop for the last several hours being at work this evening, but obviously, more news coming out of Foxborough in Boston, Massachusetts on this late night Wednesday out here on the left coast.
Right before our NFL draft coverage commences in about, I can't do math in my head right now, about 17 hours-ish.
If that, yeah.
But yes, as Callan said, it's never good when we have to come back on here and discuss the news, but let's see if I can. But before we do all that, make sure you check us out on social media at Press Row ATB across all social media platforms, as we have 72 people in here who are already jumping in on the party. 75, 76 people now joining the fray. So follow us, Press Row ETB across all social media platforms, and follow our YouTube channel. Subscribe, youtube.com/ETB Network. Follow the Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network. As everyone is now making their way in, which is good. So subscribe. YouTube.com/ETB Network. We're almost at 1,100 subscribers. So make your way in. And if you have any comments on the story we're about to talk about, and the story we're going to be talking about is this one, that there is a red alert out right now from ESPN, from ESPN's Mike Reese, that Mike Vrabel to seek counseling and won't be with the Patriots for day 3 of the NFL draft. Now, I have a lot of questions. And why just day 3? That doesn't add up to me in this scenario whatsoever. And don't you worry, I have the story. I have the Mike Reese story. We're gonna comb through it, and we are going to break through. You and I were think tanking before this show just to understand this story as it was making its rounds. But let's start with the story. Thank you, 100 people in here watching.
Appreciate you for being here tonight.
So here's the headline from Mike Reese, who's been covering the Patriots for over a decade, even more. He's one of the senior guys that covers NFL for ESPN. New England Patriots coach Mike Vrabel won't be with the team for the 3rd day of the NFL draft on Sunday. Quote, and this is a quote from Vrabel. As I said the other day, I promised my family, this organization, and this team that I was going to give them the best version of me that I could possibly give them. In order to do so, I've committed to seeking counseling. Okay, red flag number 1 in this story. Why are you seeking counseling?
That, and why is it only for day 3 of the draft and not for the whole thing or the whole weekend starting tomorrow?
And that's what's not adding up currently, because this whole time you kept saying, oh, it's laughable that this story could be true, right? And now you're coming out and saying, oh, it might be real now, right? And
yeah,
this story, and you and I were holding a lot of judgment from
Still
really
are.
coming out.
Believe us, we still are.
But you have to admit now that the ball is starting to roll downhill.
It really seems like that's the case now. Obviously, it comes on the heels, though, of the big announcement, though, of Dianna Russini resigning from The Athletic days after the whole story broke. The lengthy letter that she had written basically saying, I'm going to not give this story any more thought, any more oxygen. And also, Nick, in a roundabout way, not to face the public inquiry of being guilty before being proven innocent, as I said Sunday and said last Wednesday.
Right. But is that always the right thing to do is the question. Now, you and I, because a lot of people screwed this up when they were covering this story to say, oh, well, she quit, so that's an admission of guilt. It's not an admission of guilt. That doesn't mean anything. So does that mean every time you leave a job that's an admission of being guilty of something?
That went to my point, I think, Nick, last Wednesday in a roundabout way when I said, literally every day between 9 to 5 Eastern time, 9 to 5 Pacific time, I'm sure there's at least, I don't know, give or take 100 people, if not more, that walk into the boss's office and give them their 2-week notice or give them a letter of resignation. Why is that any different than what Dianna Russini did last week on Wednesday or last Tuesday?
I think she just had enough, and she just said, I need to walk away from this job and let this blow over, so to speak. Her contract was up June 30th. Let's clarify that too.
Yeah.
So her deal was close to being done. Who knows if she was going to return to The Athletic anyway?
Even before the whole snafu broke out on March 28th.
And there's a lot more that we're going to discuss too, because now there's more pictures from Page 6. There's now a full timeline from Page 6, which is pretty damning to Dianna Russini right now. But Mike Vrabel needs to go down with the ship now too, because
100%.
This is no longer Dianna Russini, journalism ethics. She's the only one in the wrong. The Zach Gelbs of the world who say, "Oh well, NFL head coaches have cheated on their spouses before, so it's morally wrong, but there's nothing actually wrong with it." What does that mean?
Anything to avoid talking about it, or anything to avoid the PR nightmare and, things at home don't mean anything about wins and losses, to my point that I made and beat like a dead horse on Sunday on my own show.
Yeah. And it's funny because people are saying, like, there's no leg to stand on. You can't go after Mike Vrabel. Sure you can.
Yes, you absolutely can.
Sure you can. They need to investigate. Now they need to investigate. Now that he's admitting guilt in this scenario, and we'll continue to read this story.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, as I said the other day, I promised my family and the organization and the team that I was going to give them the best version of me that I possibly can give them. In order to do so, I've committed to seeking counseling starting this weekend. Vrabel said Wednesday night, this is something that I've given a lot of thought to and is something I would advise a player to do if I was counseling them. Oh, so you're allowed to give the player the advice to seek it, but you were hiding behind it, right?
Yeah.
No more quotes from Vrabel now. I've always wanted to lead by example. Are you really leading by example? And I believe this is what I have to do to be the best husband, father, and coach I can possibly be. I have such a problem with that sentence.
Who wrote it? It sure as hell doesn't sound like Vrabel saying that or writing it. I think that was all PR written, honestly.
But they're claiming that's a direct Vrabel quote, which I'm having so many issues with. Come on, Nick D. I want to hear you now defend Mike Vrabel after he's basically admitted that he cheated.
Yeah.
Go ahead, defend it. Anyone defend it. You can't defend it now. There's no way. And our comments are open. You want to drop comments and tell us what you're thinking, and you have a reason, a rhyme or a reason to defend him, go ahead. We're fine. We're adults. We can handle it. But
Yes.
you know what? These quotes are so damning. Like, I don't understand why we won't investigate the head coach of the Patriots. And remember what I said on PR earlier yesterday. Code of conduct rules. Regardless if you're a big time professional athlete or you're a Joe Schmo like we are, you still have to follow code of conduct when you're working a job or
Yeah.
you're doing media or doing stuff, right?
Yes, you do.
And you know it because you work in PA jobs and you do a lot of different things like for the AHL and all that
Yeah.
different stuff. I'm sure there's a big lengthy code of conduct rules you have to follow.
You better believe it. Not just from the league, but going to onboarding every September or every August,
I
and
was
you
going
have
to
to
say,
sit through all the HR meetings for like a good hour plus.
every season, I bet you get like a lengthy list of whether they change the rules or if they change
Yeah.
anything.
And like, for example, this year we had a new HR director step in. So we had to, get to know her and sit through all the things with harassment and can't gamble on games, in our league as you can with anywhere else. But I've sat through that for 10 seasons, and it's good to get the refresher courses and all that sort of stuff, believe me, but it does take a lot of time though. But at the end of the day, it's fine by me.
And that's why you got to be very careful. You've worked in media. I've worked in media. I worked in talk radio, political talk radio for close to 5 years. And when I didn't really sign on because I wasn't a contracted worker, but I was a part-time worker. I still had to sign a code of conduct,
Yeah.
separate thing that said I was going to follow the rules. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
you follow the company protocol, and you follow. In my case, it's both the company protocol, the organization protocol, and then the actual team protocol when it's all said and done.
And that's the point I'm trying to get to. That just because you're a big name doesn't mean the rules don't apply to you.
You don't have presidential immunity to be doing stuff like this. Just
Even
because you're the head coach, just because you're the head coach of a National Football League team doesn't mean jack squat.
But wait a minute. Even if you have presidential immunity, you still shouldn't break the law. Like, even
Precisely.
if like our annoying president right now at times, like he thinks he could just do anything he wants to get away with it. It's not how it works. The law you still have to be a law-abiding citizen and follow the rules. And I'm telling you, that ETB Lounge episode on Sunday made me cringe partially because
How do you think I feel? It's my own damn show, for heaven's sakes.
no, but well, what do you think? It's me running my full network too. Like
Yes.
I cringed because again, I worked in the news media space, and when I hear them going off and saying that Vrabel should just get off scot-free and there should be no punishment and no investigation, that made my skin crawl. Like, you have to at least do an investigation.
I mean,
You
the bare
have to.
minimum that we're asking is some kind of intel or internal investigation. Call up PR, call up HR, and get this thing over with already.
And the next quote, which you and I said, kind of did him in, I think. I have always wanted to lead by example, and I believe that this is what I have to do to be the best husband, father, and coach I could possibly be. Next, this is not an easy thing for me to admit.
Time out. Say that.
Yeah.
Say that line one more time, please.
This is not an easy thing for me to admit. Wait, but it is one that I know will make me a better person. I'm sorry, is that an admission of guilt?
Where's the cringe emoji at?
Is that an admission of guilt? I want to know. Look who's with us again right now, Christy.
More drama.
But I'm sorry, is that an admission of guilt?
I mean, to me, it does.
That's a little damning right there.
And if memory serves me correct, was there ever a mention about Dianna Russini writing that in her letter?
No. No. Come on now. You think that he would rather throw her under a bus then take the blame.
Of course.
By the way, is this what you want a 50-year-old man acting?
Of course not.
Now, she's an adult too. Don't get me wrong. She's 43. He's 50. But my point is, this is such a
Yes.
yes.
I concur.
But this whole thing is getting ridiculous now because
it's only, I mean, it literally exploded about, I'd say, what, Nick, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, 45 minutes ago.
Mike Reese, who covers the Patriots, was on it. Now, here's the ironic thing I told you when that story came out. Do you remember the last ESPN story that Ben Strauss?
Yeah, so the last story that Ben Strauss wrote,
newest hire by ESPN, by the way,
did not make any ESPN social media feeds.
It made it on the website.
It was on the website, but was not shared publicly across their social platforms. Once again tonight, on Tuesday or on Wednesday out here on the West Coast, the Mike Reese story was not circulated across the entire ESPN social media platforms.
Now, I told you I had a theory for that. And some people are saying the same thing I am, which is ESPN just made a major deal with the NFL, acquiring the NFL network. And what did they say was going to happen when this deal went down and there was a controversial
The NFL
story?
will be micromanaging ESPN about what they could publish about the NFL.
Now, there's no way to prove that.
No.
But you don't think that when Mike Reese wrote that story, that whoever's in charge of the website probably cringed slightly when they saw that story come through?
You can't put that out.
Well, they did the bullshit thing. They put the story out,
but never shared it on social platforms.
And I want to point something out to the 225 people that are watching in here right now. Okay. ESPN's Twitter account has 58 million followers. Okay. And what did I tell you what would have happened if that story hit the Twitter feed?
It would have broken Twitter.
The internet would have exploded in more ways than one. The Mike Reese story is making more news because he put it out on his own social feeds.
To his own followers, exactly.
Now, I just want to do some digging. Not digging. I want to look up how many followers Mike Reese has. Okay. He's got a decent following. He's got 400,000 followers. So it'll blow up on his own accounts.
Oh, yeah. By far and away.
But it's not going to do the same numbers of 58 million followers on the ESPN Twitter account.
No way.
So my theory is that they didn't want it blowing up into the oblivion.
Oh, of course not.
Because then the NFL would have to get involved and they would, God forbid, have to do PR control. If that was the case. But
also, Nick, more importantly, look at the timing of the whole thing, too, with the story coming out.
Well, yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. They were waiting for a news dump time.
Well, no. We're a day away from the NFL draft. And what did we speculate about earlier on Wednesday out here on the West Coast on the show? You know, that you're hoping and praying, at least we're hoping and praying. I don't know about the rest of the crew that's going to join the draft coverage tomorrow. You're hoping and praying that no other bombshell gets dropped on the doorstep when the draft opens up at 5 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow evening.
You know, some jerk or asshole in the media is going to try to break this story during the NFL draft.
Zach Gelb.
Well, I don't know if it'll be he. I've never seen him break stories. But just wait. You know, somebody, page 6. You don't think page 6 is somehow looming in the background? We're going to get to a page 6 story in a moment, but you don't think page 6 is going like this right now?
Excellent.
Oh, it's the NFL draft today? Should we drop a bombshell on the NFL draft? How fun would that be?
I agree, Christy. I just hope no bombshell drops, but I'm afraid that it will.
Oh, no. I first of all, you can't say anything's 100%, so I definitely won't say that. But
yeah, it has to be in the back of your mind. I mean, I'm not even a NFL fan, but I'm going to be, EPing tomorrow's programs. But even I'm like, nervous about what might happen.
I'm willing to say it's like a 30-70. 30 in favor of it happening, 70 not.
That's fair. I probably would go 20-80.
I'm somewhere in like the 20-30% range because I'm telling you right now, if that story breaks
Oh, man.
during the NFL draft, you might as well forget the NFL draft
Yeah.
at that point because you think we're going to look like idiots and continue to cover the NFL draft if that breaks?
I don't know if this would happen. What if Adam Schefter broke something during the course of the draft? I mean, just hypothetically, say it happens.
Well, he wouldn't get fired because he's ESPN's
Well, no,
golden
but
son.
still, like, what do you think would happen, though?
Oh, explosion.
Just for the simple fact, as we said, though, the NFL now has their hands in the proverbial cookie jar for ESPN.
The internet would explode, number one, if Adam Schefter broke the story. But he's not really one to break, like, gossipy stories like that, really.
But if he is the lead NFL insider for ESPN, who's not to say that it would fall to him to do so?
But what does he have to gain from doing that? Besides impressions, which I don't think he cares about.
I just thought I would throw it out there. Like, what if something does happen and ESPN has to break the news that there's been.
Are you saying like if he somehow comes across whatever the scoop is,
yeah,
would he act on it? Is that what you're essentially asking?
Basically.
I don't think he would because and this is going to sound ironic because of what happened with Dianna Russini, but he doesn't want to lose his connections.
I just thought I'd ask. I was just
no. You're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't think he would do it because I think he'd be so worried about being in all the circles that if he were to break that story, no one's going to give him news anymore, scoops to break. Remember, they're in the insider breaking business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if he were to break that story, he'd be fucked.
True.
Because if they know that he's going to break that story, what other dirt would he break if he were to somehow break that story?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Like, this isn't Pablo Torre finding out about the Clippers and aspiration and other things, but I get what you're saying, though, still.
Yeah, but Pablo Torre is like a real investigative journalist, though. Adam Schefter's not an investigative journalist. He's an insider breaking news. It's slightly different. Like, Pablo Torre is looking for the dirt.
Yeah.
But that's what an investigative journalist does. They look under every rock to find the clue. Adam Schefter's not looking
exactly
for the
clue.
clue.
If something does break from some source, I don't know who it would be, and then you can literally kick the whole team out of the damn stream and just have me and you do the rest of the show because then it's going to become PR 3.0 if that happens.
My guess is that it's probably not going to happen because the NFL is going to try to squash it if news comes out.
Which I think they should in some capacity because, I mean, you're taking away a moment in time for these guys getting drafted.
No, I agree. You're 100% right. To be honest, I really just want to focus on the NFL draft later on today here on the East Coast. But, like, I'm not going to say it's 0% that it doesn't happen.
I mean, it's got to be at least 10%.
10 to 20%. And, I mean, we can talk about this now. So, the report per page 6, which this is just... First of all, damn you, page 6. I can't. Like, and page 6 won't even admit that they paid for the pictures. Like, TMZ had to expose page 6.
In a way, page 6 was TMZ before TMZ actually got credibility.
Right. I mean, and by the way, just so people understand, page 6 is the New York Post. Because on Twitter, like, they're hiding it as a New York Post link, but then it opens into a page 6 story. Because they know the New York Post name's going to get them more clicks, obviously. But the new information, which is on this banner now, new photos show Dianna Russini and Mike Vrabel having breakfast alone at an Arizona resort. Now, there are pictures. Now, I'm going to say this again for the 10 millionth time. How does sitting at a table with somebody prove anything?
Because again, like I said on Sunday, Nick, everyone is just so hell bent on jumping to conclusions, like they know what the hell's going on,
But that's the problem I'm having here.
and
So,
that's the problem that drove you and me nuts on the lounge on Sunday.
so the story from page 6 says, now take this with a grain of salt because page 6 is looking for dirt.
I wish I had a grain of salt, but I don't.
Yeah, well, figuratively or literally. The Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel and NFL reporter Dianna Russini were spotted having breakfast together during their outing at the resort. I have trouble pronouncing the name. In Sedona, Arizona last month. As seen in the new exclusive photos obtained by Page 6. An insider told us that the pair, meaning Page 6, who were both married to other people, okay, we know that, dined together on the morning of March 28th around 10:15 a.m. local time. That's not good. It's not good.
No.
But again, it still proves nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't prove anything, but now it's like timeline of events now, sequence of events is now being exposed now at this rate.
Multiple eyewitnesses claim that the two dined alone, which seemed to be supported by the pictures. Okay, saying something is supported by the pictures means nothing.
No.
Nothing. But sources close to Rossini insist that the sports reporter and the NFL coach were joined by a group of friends for the morning meal. Okay, this is pissing me off with the
This
group
is the
of
part,
friends.
though, that I think all of us would agree in some way is like really infuriating. That originally, when the story broke while Nick was on vacation, when Nick DiMartino filled in for Nick on Press Row, was him and I both agreed that the initial reporting was that the photos that were taken of the pool involving the group of friends had been cropped. They'd been misleading. They may have been doctored in some capacity, however it may have been. That was the initial first movement of the story, was about photos had been cropped out or cropped to only show Dianna and Coach Vrabel and not, other people that may have been in the pool or around them. As I think Nick shared one photo in our Slack channels that, showed Dianna and Vrabel with what looked like people in the pool in front of them while they were lounging in the shallow end of that said pool or that hot tub, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what to freaking believe at this point anymore. But there are pictures here. It is showing them at a table. Now, it's a little odd, the viewing of the pictures, because it looks like they're hiding either inside of another place and they're taking a picture outside of a window.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they're sitting outside and the photo appears to show like a doorway or a window or something of that nature.
So again, these pictures mean jack shit. They don't mean anything. The sources or the spies these people should be arrested. Like, just following people around for scoops. Like, you must live a miserable life if all you're doing is following celebrities around and stalking them for news.
Yeah, I mean, again, this feels like it's a story that TMZ would have covered way before they actually got credibility, or this is something for Entertainment Tonight or Insider Edition, for example, but not for what we do here, for heaven's sakes.
But here's where it gets weird. So the insider also told Page 6 that the pair appeared to be trying to go incognito by walking into various places in the resort separately throughout the day following their breakfast. That's a little odd.
That part is a little weird. On both of them, let me be clear. On both her part and his part, that's very awkward and very much damning. If what we think does come out of this, then they're both guilty as charged.
It almost sounds like they were doing that weird timing thing so that, like, oh, if you go first and then I go
it wouldn't
second.
be as like awkward or whatever it may be.
And the quote from the insider says one of them would go ahead and then the other would wait a few seconds or so, and then they would follow a few steps ahead, claiming that it seemed as if they really didn't want to be seen walking together.
Yeah, that part I think raises red flags for everybody, honestly.
So, and then obviously goes back to the other part of the timeline where they were caught holding hands. All this other stuff is now the early part of the timeline, which is now
Right.
confirming. And I hate to say this, but are we getting close to like guilt at this point? Like, is that where we're at? Because it just seems like every piece of evidence that comes out for this story is making it worse and worse and worse. And the ball is rolling down the hill to the point where they're going to get flattened if they're not careful with the way they're acting. And I mean, again, we can't say officially official that it's guilty, but now all the pieces are sliding in. The puzzle pieces.
It's essentially reliving Russell Wilson throwing the pick to Malcolm Butler. That's how it kind of feels about where the story is at right now. It's like on the 2-yard line going into the end zone.
Correct. And I'm like doing everything in my power not to want to say like this is a done deal. But
no, I mean I can't do it yet until we actually have official confirmation about something. I mean, as much as I may have blown a gasket, and that doesn't happen a lot with me in general, but just the collective nature of the show on Sunday, covering the story, even as somebody who does not like the NFL, as I say all the time, laugh at me all you want, people. I don't really care. But the fact it destroys one career, it should lead to something else for the other side of it too. And that's what I think a lot of people out there, I mean, yes, we all want this story to go away as much. Again, like I said, I don't care about this sport, but I'm looking forward to being a part of the program on Thursday for the NFL draft. This needs to go away. And I am, again, of the belief that nobody should be allowed to make any sort of jurisdiction, who's guilty, who's not guilty. It's about wins and losses as a head coach. Who cares who you sleep with at night? That's not the point here. I mean, we're talking about collateral damage for two parties involved here for simply because of one photograph of them, having a very awkward handshake. Give me a break.
Right. And that's why all these tabloids, even though it's a New York Post, this is tabloid BS we're talking about here. Because again, nobody knows what happened in that hotel. Nobody knows.
And we're all basing it off of gut reactions, what our brains say, and jumping to conclusions.
But it is becoming more and more damning as more pictures come out, though.
That the timeline, I think, also came out as well. And then,
well, it says following the breakfast, the one we just found out about, that was when they got together at the pool and were lounging side by side by the pool in the hot tub. So now we're finding out what happened before. So this is looking bad, like very bad.
Yeah.
And
I think we need to be fair, though. It's bad for both parties involved, not just one.
Yes. No.
Like I said earlier on Wednesday, the balancing scales can't just be tipped this way. They've got to be about 50-50.
I was mad during PR. I was mad during lounge because you can't just say this is a Dianna Russini problem. We're not saying she's innocent yet. Let's be very clear about that. But it takes two to tango in this scenario when it comes to this story. Okay? And just because you don't want to, and I'm talking about people who are watching and are making naive opinions, just because as a society you don't want to take out an investigation on Vrabel doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. That's what people have to realize. But it doesn't help that the owner of the Patriots is a jerk and has been guilty of being part of a massage parlor operation illegally.
Let alone the other notable dirt on the Patriot organization away from Photogate.
Deflategate.
Spygate.
Tom Brady destroying a phone that had evidence in it. I mean, can we just admit, and sorry, Ben, when I say this, but the Patriots are a dirty organization.
And I think Ben, though, to his point, said it right, though, that he's tired of all these things popping up for that franchise. And I understand that logic too. When your club is obviously, they've won what, six or seven championships, whatever it is, and that you should be known for that, like the lineage about, tradition and being a dynasty and winning in the 28-3 comeback. But when you have all these other blips on the radar, as you do, when you've got these speed bumps involving Spygate, Deflategate, Brady destroying the evidence of his phone, and now this thing happening for a proud organization who was, they were nothing burgers between 1960 and 85 until they finally got good, and won all those championships. That you should look at the Patriots as a team who won all those titles, but not for a team who won titles having to, go out the back door and pull off tomfoolery.
And that's the problem. Like, don't get me wrong. The Patriots won their titles. Okay.
Yes.
That's not the debate, even though they did cheat for a few of those. But you're a dirty organization. That's it. Plain and simple. And your owner's a dirty person too. Robert Kraft has done some illegal things. Heinous illegal things. Okay? And he's friends with Roger Goodell. Gee, isn't that a surprise?
No.
So, and like, you saw Ben got a little testy with me when I went back and forth on Lounge when it came to that he wasn't being investigated. Well, what else is supposed to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Ben, you're very knowledgeable at the NFL, and I know you're a Patriot fan, but you can't be naive and say he can't be investigated.
Yeah, and that went to my point earlier on that, if all of us as sports fans should be able to celebrate when our teams do great, and when the going gets tough, you should be out there with a pitchfork and torch in your hand ready to burn down the organization.
And that's my point. Like, just because you're a Patriot fan, and Ben is actually pretty good about it, actually, as a Patriot fan. Like, when something bad happens to the organization, he talks about it. Like,
yeah, and I noticed that, though, on Sunday. I mean, I know he got a little test, but he also said, as a fan, I'm getting tired of the organization, like, shooting themselves in the foot, though, when it comes to stuff away from the game of football, like away from winning on the field. As a fan, I'm tired, though, of, like, the organization pulling off Spygate, Deflategate, Robert Kraft being an a-hole, and then this whole thing happening, though, too, because I heard him plain as day say that on Sunday.
No, right. But I could tell he got a little frustrated with me that I was saying Vrabel needs to be investigated. And again, that goes back to your point of thinking about wins and losses rather than somebody's family getting destroyed, kids being involved allegedly in a cheating scandal. And I'm not even talking about on the field, to be honest.
Like actual cheating, like cheaters on CW.
Relationships, cheating. And I think sometimes people forget that. Like, and that's why I got annoyed at Zach Gelb, because
yeah, rightfully so.
He is acting more like a Patriot fan and not someone who's worked in this business for a long period of time, had a successful show on Infinity Sports Network.
Which, Mr. Morgasen, that's the number one lesson I've given to people who want to get into this industry. You take the fan hat off and you do your job the way you should be doing it.
I will tell you full disclosure, before I got in this industry as a fan, when I was younger, as a kid, because I didn't know any better, I just said, oh, well, the Yankees, blah, 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 blah. Like, and whenever they did this thing wrong, I said, oh, you like, they're better than everybody else. But you want to know how old I was when I did that? I was
like 5 years old, 10 years old.
I was 10, maybe a teenager at oldest, 13. Yeah. Okay? But once you grow up, when the going gets tough, you have to admit when your team makes a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay? And I can think of a certain someone who used to be here, who used to make every fault an excuse for their team, even when they did something stupid. Okay? And too bad. When your team makes a faux pas or a dumb mistake, you have to admit when your team does something.
Believe it or not, Frank the Tank is usually right about the Mets.
As much as he's a pain in the ass at times, he usually is right, except for when he over exaggerates the amount of losses the Mets might have. But
still,
like the turmoil and the inner fighting in the clubhouse, I've heard those reports are accurate.
yeah.
Like, and that Juan Soto's not talking to his teammates, which is that's a whole
Go figure.
That's a you and I can relate. He's been in both of our clubhouses.
All I got to say is look back at the 2023 Padres. They were supposed to win the World Series.
Well, it's his fault, a lot of it. But I don't know, man. Like this story is like spiraling out of control. I'm still not going to play the Boston piece because that was such a long. But this was on Sports Hub, not the other story that we're going to talk about. But
yeah, so it was not on the Red Sox flagship. We got a bit confused here with
WEEI.
Yeah, WEEI is only for the Red Sox with 89.5, I believe, the other station.
98.5. Yeah.
98.5, the other station in Boston, who had a whole thing about it because they are they are the Pats flagship radio station too.
And Tom pointed it out also that I think 98.5 was the station that had the issue with Tom Brady. I
believe that is correct.
But since we're talking about it, there's a report out now that WEEI is parting ways with, I think this is their afternoon drive show, Andy Hart and Nick Stevens after discussing the scandal. Wow. Do you remember what I said to you when I first saw this story? What did I say to you?
Vaguely.
Censorship?
Yeah.
Or, and one of the other things I said to you is I've worked in radio, and this made my blood boil big time. So this is a report, because again, it's not officially confirmed, but Boston radio station WEEI is parting ways with longtime co-hosts Andy Hart and Nick Stevens, according to multiple reports. The outspoken duo has been covering the Mike Vrabel and Dianna Russini scandal closely since it broke 2 weeks ago. A reason for their departures isn't yet known. However, it's worth noting that another Boston radio personality, Scott Zolak, who's been around in Boston sports radio for a long time.
Isn't he also the color voice, though, too, for the Pats on radio?
I think he might be. Recently insinuated he might lose his job if he spoke about the Vrabel-Russini scandal. No official announcement has been made by Odyssey or WEEI as of Wednesday afternoon, but sources familiar with the situation have widely reported it. This is going to cause a problem in the media if this happens.
I could not agree more. And by the way, for those who are wondering, by the way, WBZ,
yes,
FM 98.5, the Sports Hub, Bruins, Celtics, Patriots, Revolution, and Northeastern University Athletics are all on their station.
Yeah. By the way, thank you to the over 300 people who are watching right now. Thank you. But this is going to cause a massive stir up in media.
Oh, I mean, could you imagine though, Nick? Because it's already 2:00 in the morning back on the East Coast.
Almost 2:15.
So morning drive probably is 5 or 6 a.m. out there on the East Coast.
6 a.m. Yeah.
How do you think though that those that are still employed by that station feel walking into the studio for the first show of the day? Because now it feels like you're walking on eggshells now at WBZ or WEEI when it comes to the story.
You can't feel good. I'll tell you that much. Now, the issue you run into, and I said this before we started, why do you think I want our independent network to be successful? Do you remember what my answer was?
Of stuff like this.
Because we control what we want to talk about on here. I don't want to deal with the assholes that are controlling the narrative. And whenever you work, do you remember when the whole, the Commanders when it was the Redskins with what's his name, the former owner,
Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder. I don't know why that name flat out of my head. But do you remember when I think Dan Snyder owned ESPN 630? I think in Washington,
Yes.
and he told the people at the station, "Stop it right now." That's what he told everybody. Station, you're not allowed to talk about it. Have you noticed in the new age of ownership that the teams are also buying the media associated with the
You don't
with
have to
teams?
remind me about that. Look at what the LA Angels did to Sam Bloom of The Athletic.
Right, but my point is, he didn't work. Well, actually, let me take that back. I originally was going to say he wasn't on radio, but he actually was. I don't know if he had a show or he was making.
He was on a roundtable show on KLAA, Los
Yes.
Angeles Angels, AM 830,
Yes.
owned by the Angels. They gave him the boot because he was too critical of the franchise.
Oh, boo-hoo. Like, this is the problem I have with the media today. No one's allowed to voice their opinions for anything. That is a huge problem in this industry. You see something?
Now I'm trying
Oh.
to see what the Commanders are on when it comes to radio, but go on.
I know one of them is ESPN 630. But and I think there's also a station 980, I think, in Washington, because the morning show originally was hosted by these four guys that were not media people. But they left, but they did the morning show for a long period of time. But it's interesting. So it says the move, if reportedly true, leaves former Patriots linebacker Ted Johnson as the remaining member of the current trio that helmed WEEI afternoons from 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And ironically, Johnson is a former teammate of Vrabel.
Holy shnikes.
It's amazing how all these pieces are connecting back to the story, isn't it?
So, Nick, there's a similar dynamic in San Diego as I think I've laid out. And no, I'm not making this a small market thing. I'm literally comparing that
You're comparing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, my market has two local sports stations, too. We have 97.3 and 760. One of them has the Padre flagship rights on the FM band.
That's
the other
97.3. Yeah.
And the other has SDSU and SDFC on 760, which just hired Alan Slewa to become the new afternoon drive host with John Schaefer. I know everybody at all the stations for one thing, for that. But around Christmas time, I think 2 years ago, Coach John Quintera, who's a legend here in local sports talk radio, he was at 690, 1090, and then went to 97.3. He got laid off before the Christmas holiday in 2024, I think, a couple years ago.
That's effed up when you get laid off before the holiday.
Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, before he joined us on PR, was of the belief, because John would be telling it like it is, which is part of the Cranium show coming in May, there's a way to do sports talk radio or do sports talk, and that is that you give your opinions, you're bold, you're passionate, and you're honest for those three things, but also you tell it like it is. And I think that Lee was of the belief, just from his perspective, either other on-air talent complained about Quintera talking about the Padres in a good or bad way, or that the Padre organization somehow, some way threw him off the air. None of that was true. It was just the fact that his contract wasn't picked up and they wanted to go to a younger voice in the midday slot from 10 a.m. to 2. But even then, as you were saying, though, Nick, I could not see the Padres ever doing that. The only thing that they did, though, as you probably know very well, was before 97.3 became The Fan.
Was that the whole scenario with the radio host?
The whole thing with Kevin Kline and the
Yes.
whole jump to a new morning show when it was still 97.3 The Machine before it even became all sports. It was like
Kline's an interesting guy.
Radio, yeah.
He's a unique guy, to say the least. The only reason I know.
Yeah. But I mean, long story short, That was what there was the belief, though. And I will say that, yes, this market in a way can be waving the rally towels and the pom poms when it comes to the Padres, especially on that station. 760 will give you a bit more like in your face, like, hey, this has to happen. But I find it hard to believe, though, all of a sudden that in Boston, of all the markets, Nick, around this country, between your home state, where I live in Southern California, where Zan lives in Chicago, and where Ben, is a sports fan of in Boston, the fourth biggest media market in my, from my perspective, would all of a sudden be so damn soft like Charmin toilet paper to actually let two guys leave or, kick them off the air for simply covering one of the teams in the marketplace with a story not involving wins and losses. What are we doing here?
Now, I'll give you the answer to that because I commented on somebody. There's this guy that dropped the story, and I commented, and he actually said to me, "I think you're right about this
Tony
whole thing."
Farmer. Yeah, I saw that.
And I don't know if you saw the exact comment I wrote, but I'm trying to find it. But I basically said the reason that it's not being shared or whatnot, the story from Reese, I said, you really think ESPN wants to rock the boat with the NFL after acquiring NFL Network and a bunch of other NFL assets?
And finally getting the Super Bowl on their platform after, 55 or 50 years trying to get it on the ESPN?
And I also said they got the story out to say they covered the news, but they don't want to destroy the Shield because that would be millions affected on their bottom line.
Yeah.
Tell me where I stuttered.
No, and I think Tony Farmer saying that it should piss people off like you and me because it does.
So, and he even wrote, he said fair take after I said it. Like, I know this business, okay? So do you, but I've worked in actual radio for 4 or 5 years, and I've seen the ugly politicking, not politics, politicking.
Yeah, like
radio.
micromanaging, for example, a move like this. Oh, you can't talk about the Pats like this. Come on, guys. What are you doing here? No, get out of here.
I will tell you, and Callan knows this about me. I hate politics in every way, shape, or form. I hate politics. And after I left WABC after 4 years, they put a strange rule in place, but I understand why they did it because of all the false fake news and stuff. So basically the rule they put in was that you can't say that the COVID situation was Wuhan. That's what everyone was saying. Oh, it's the Wuhan virus, blah, 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 blah. Japan, blah, 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 blah. Or the other one was, you can't lie about the voting machines.
Yes.
Which was another problem. And that's when the whole Dominion lawsuit happened and all that stuff.
Correct.
So basically they told all the hosts, this was after I left, but I heard about it. If you do any of this stuff, you're getting thrown off air. And who was still on the air at the time when I left?
Rudy Giuliani.
He broke that rule as soon as the rule was put in place. And he did it far too many times and got thrown off air. And that's the point I'm trying to make here. That if you work for a station that helms the teams, that they're the flagship, basically what you need to understand in this business, the Red Sox are on your station, WEEI. You better be an experienced host and be on that station for many years where you can get away with it, where the teams know who you are, or you're going to get shit canned if you haven't been there for years.
Especially as I said, Nick, that for me that's market number 4. New York, LA, Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia is probably in my top 5 when it comes to that. Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston is like 6 or 7.
Chicago, Houston. I mean, Atlanta. Atlanta's another big market.
Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous. Like, but for those hosts, if that's report is true, that they're trying to do the right thing, to shine light on the story because to show people that there's issues going on. And they got fired because the Patriots stepped in.
That's a load of BS then, if that's the case.
So you're not going to defend your guys, all because they're going to threaten if you don't fire them, then they're just going to pull their games off the network. Which, believe it or not, for radio stations, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
owning the rights.
And by the way, just to quickly clarify, again, WEEI is not the lead flagship for the Patriots. WEEI only has the Red Sox. Yeah,
right. 98.5 The Sports Hub is the station that has the Patriots. They had the incident with Tom Brady, and I also think the trainer incident with Brady also.
Yes.
But this whole thing is out of control. It's out of control. It's everyone's looking to break news. Everyone's looking for views. And of course, people are going to say, because we're on now, we're looking for views. No, and by the way, almost 350 people watching right now. That's because we did our homework on these stories. Okay. I'm not looking for clickbait. I'm not. I could give two shits about clickbait. Okay. It's a big story. That's why we're talking about it. Trust me, there are channels that go around that just clickbait you to death for views.
They beat you over the head with the head with a clickbait steel chair.
And I thought it was Greg Bedard on which was it Hub or was it on EEI? I think it was on Sports Hub. Who was saying, and he was right when he said this. A football breakdown of the Patriots, a normal breakdown, 7,000 views. Because the other host had said, oh, no one cares about the story, which is a complete lie to say that no one cares about the story. Okay?
Right.
Hence the reason 348 people are watching us talk about it right now. Okay? But Bedard was saying, a normal Patriots breakdown, 7,000 views. Dianna Russini, Mike Vrabel video, 57,000.
Like a 50% jump practically.
More than 50%.
Yeah.
From 7,000 to 57,000. So you have to do the balance when you're a media company. You have to cover a story for a reason, but you also have to make sure you hit your views and your ratings and all that stuff too. But you have to be careful you're not just doing the same thing over and over again.
Precisely.
Because you could label a video whatever you want. But people will do that, and then sometimes they only talk about the story for 2 minutes of a 20-minute video, and they claim that's what their video is about. And that's what causes a problem.
Yeah.
In this story. If Andy Hart and Nick Stevens get fired, it sets a horrible precedent for this business.
Oh, yeah. I think it sets the industry back decades, years, months for, especially if the Patriots had their hand in the cookie jar with this one, they're setting this industry back by a millennium at this rate, because now all of a sudden, as we said, though, Nick, a bit earlier, as I said, I'll defend Ben if I have to regarding the fact, as a fan, I'm tired of my team being stuck in controversy, embroiled in controversy.
Yeah.
But also, again, you need to cover the organization through the good times, the bad times, and the ugly times, in things of that caliber. And if you don't let people like Andy and Nick do their job, because at one point I think the slogan for the Patriots was "Do your job."
Yes,
they're doing their job of covering the organization at a bad and ugly time on the speedometer right now.
Correct.
Now all of a sudden they're thrown off the air because they're doing their job, because it doesn't fit the Patriot way when it comes to morals and how you talk about the franchise. No. What did I just say about 30 minutes ago? You cover the team when they're winning, when they're losing, when they're going, all the way to the Super Bowl unbeaten, or if they're 0-18 like the Jets will be this season. Simple as that.
And that's why this is infuriating, because number one, they're the afternoon drive show. To be the afternoon drive show, you have to have some experience under your belt. So I guarantee you those guys have been around. I think it said since 2018. It says they've been around.
Pretty long time nowadays to last in radio.
was that almost 8 years? I mean,
Years.
so, and I'm sure they were in other capacities at the station before afternoon drive. So it's probably over a decade if that's how long they've been there.
Maybe longer. Who knows?
So Bobby Burrock responded to the Reese tweet and quote tweeted it. Said there has to be more to this story. Why does Vrabel have to attend counseling on a Saturday, the 3rd, and final day of the draft? Why couldn't he do it on Monday? If it's so urgent that he needs an appointment, why is he able to be with the team the first 2 days of the 10 draft? That's the first time I've agreed with something he said in this entire process.
And I was going to say, didn't Russini also look up like crisis counseling too for this whole thing?
Yes, but both sides apparently have denied that a crisis counselor has been involved. So I don't think we can really comment on the crisis counselor because we haven't heard
No.
enough about it. Would I put it past the Patriots, who reportedly, according to Pro Football Talk and Mike Florio, who I have a strong hatred for because I think he sensationalizes stories sometimes, but he claims that the Patriots tried to block the New York Post story, the Page 6 story. I believe it.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if they tried to, because again, it's the Patriots.
But that also makes Vrabel look more guilty.
Yeah.
Because why are you blocking the story? If you think if you believe he didn't do it, then let the story run.
Yeah.
And then just defend it.
Yeah. That's all you got to do.
But this is not the first time we've seen a team try to block something before.
No.
I mean, think about the story we just did on the Dallas Wings and AZ Fudd.
And then blocking people or media members from asking questions regarding her and Paige Becker's having a relationship.
And that's in my opinion, that's the PR overstepping their bounds, partially. I understand maybe because they don't want to deal with relationship, open, public stuff, but you got to let them breathe. And the same thing with this story. You got to let it breathe and let people react. Now, if you don't know how to react appropriately, you shouldn't be allowed to react to this story at all. But the saying I've lived by for years, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one.
Uh-huh.
Because there are a lot of people that have opinions on this because they can't keep their fucking mouth shut when it comes to, well, Russini, because Russini's a woman, she's sleeping for insider sources, and
She's bringing down every other woman who's ever been in this industry.
and you know what? We're still trying to get to Chrissy Freud and see if we can get her on the show. Because I'd love to know what the thought process was in those comments. Because you basically ripped her a you know what
Yeah.
without even fully understanding the story. Now, I think Britt McKendry did that also, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I think she doubled down on her social media. I have to see if I can find it. But now, ironically, she worked at ESPN, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And then she got let go, I think, as part of the
Layoffs.
And I'm just looking through here to see if she's she did retweet the press conference. I'm just looking quickly to see if she said anything the contrary. I just remember her like going in on Dianna Russini, but I don't understand why people can't just wait for the facts to come out.
Because I feel like they have to get their opinions out in real time, and no filter, no proven facts. Just here's my gut reaction. She's a biatch. There we go.
Oh, here was the tweet, and I remember she put this out. She put out a GIF of Taylor Swift with a wine glass, and it says karma on it. And that was basically a direct shot at Dianna Russini.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, Britt McKendry ended up basically in hiding for a while, if I remember correctly, because she had an attitude problem and stuff. But I don't know, man. We don't have the answer officially. That's true.
No.
We don't know. But the weird thing is, things keep trickling out.
And now that we've had Vrabel finally break his silence and that press conference say that he looked like he was defeated over the course of the day when that happened, and those quotes from Mike Reese's article, yikes.
I just think people need to hold their judgments, like I've said. And what do you gain by making comments now? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So, whoop-de-doo, you got your view out on Dianna Russini.
All they had to do was hit their quota. That was it. No more, no less.
And I think I found the Freud comments because it's just, and it's infuriating to me because she basically doubled down, and this is questions I would ask her if we could get her on at some point. Freud said she stands by everything she said about Russini. I want to say firstly that I do not regret anything that I said,
Right.
and that I stand behind the fact it is all indeed true. How do you know?
Yeah.
And that would be one of the first questions I would ask her. Like, how do you know that you're saying it's all indeed true? How do you know? Were you there?
Right.
That's a question I would ask anybody who claims this is true and we don't need to go after Vrabel. Like, you can't say it's true because nobody knows if it's true, except for the two of them, technically.
Yeah. No one else except for those two. And if those group of friends ever actually open their traps and actually come forward and talk to the press.
Oh, I didn't even realize these comments. There must have been an update done on this story. I don't know whose comments these are. I think this is, I think these are Chrissy's comments. She said it was deeply, deeply emotional to lose the job she held for roughly 11 years, but insisted she would not walk back her comments. So do you
regarding her termination from USA Today Sports.
So you just don't want to work? Is that what you're claiming? Like that you realize that's talking out of both sides of your mouth, right?
Yeah.
It's deeply, deeply emotional. I lost my job, but I wouldn't walk the comments back if I was given the chance. So you don't want to work. That's what it sounds
Pretty
like.
Much.
And of course, she's probably going to watch this now and say, "Oh, I don't want to talk to that jerk."
Well, so be it.
But I don't know. I'm tired of this. It's almost 3 a.m. Oh boy, 3 a.m. almost here, and we have NFL draft coverage to get to. But thank you, 362 people watching. And you know what? It's because we do our homework why people watch Press Row. Okay? We don't clickbait. We don't. Program alert later today on the East Coast, almost West Coast. Join the ETB Network's NFL draft coverage beginning Thursday, today, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, and across our Twitter family of Twitter accounts, youtube.com/ETB Network. Like and subscribe. It helps. We're almost at 1,100 subscribers. If you go over to our YouTube channel, click the notification bell. Tells you every time we go live or shows go live or our produced shows go live. Check it out. As I said, youtube.com/ETB Network, and follow the network on social media at ETB Network as we continue to do a ton of things. Once the NFL draft ends, then we're kind of really into the true summer months. Baseball,
Dog days, baby.
Baseball, UFC, WWE, because I know Christy was watching.
Stanley Cup playoffs,
Stanley
NBA
Cup.
playoffs, Major League Soccer, the World Cup is coming up.
Which we'll have a pop-up show for that soon, very soon, probably in
Sometime in June.
So just here's the last piece of advice I'll give, and then we'll end the show. Do your homework, do your due diligences, and make sure your sources are accurate.
It's not that hard.
And if it's not a legitimate source, don't run with it. You and I have gotten sick over the amount of sources we've been trying to run this on.
Not everything on the internet is real, people. Remember that.
Well, unless it's legitimate people you're
Yes.
following. I tell you, when we put Press Row together, we have a shitload of media sources that we follow for everything. Okay? So any story that you hear us do on this show is because we've directly sourced it from the proper channels, whether it's like the Jimmy Trainas or the Andrew Marchands or Front Office Sports or Sports Business Journal.
Sportico, awful announcing.
it's
Local beat writers like Dennis Lynn covering the Padres sale right now, as we've been talking about too.
So that's the homework you got to put in if you want to do this type of show. Doing a sports media and business show is hard. Okay. We make it look easy because we've done this before. Okay. But we still have to put the work in necessary to make sure all the sources are correct. We can't just run on the Joe Schmo Twitter account that says Steve Cohen is going to sell the Mets, which obviously wouldn't happen, or that they want Jim Dolan kicked out of the NBA as an owner. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to put the work in. And you have to show that you're legitimate on what you're talking about. And stay away from places where the teams own the rights.
Yes.
Because you can't talk freely at those places. You just can't. And I don't know. It's brutal the way everything is gone when it comes to doing all this crap. And I'm seeing guys like oh God, who's the one that hosts Speakeasy? That's Emmanuel Acho.
Yeah.
Like you see these guys like spewing their mouth. I'm surprised Skip Bayless hasn't been like alive during this story at all. But ironically, I think his explanation on the whole thing was accurate.
Yeah, I agree.
Who would have thought that, right?
I know, right?
Skip Bayless being the voice of reason on this story. Who would have thought? But
that wasn't on the bingo card bets for sure.
But we're gonna go nap because we have a long day ahead of us. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss the NFL draft show. Like I said, we're going to be very busy. 9 people involved in our draft coverage. We're going to be live an hour before the actual draft coverage, doing an NFL our 2026 ETB Network NFL draft pre-show. Zambando, Grant Winsauer, Connor Rowland, Ben Cruz, our Patriot fan. We'll lead you for about the first 50 minutes of the show, and then we're all going to jump in and bring you the draft. So it's the longest night of the year, I would say, besides the Super Bowl coverage.
Yeah. 11 hours of that of coverage for the Super Bowl. I would agree.
And I think we're going to have more this time around. Now that we have,
ESPN's gonna milk the shit out of the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I just meant us. Generally, we're going to now that we have more people involved in the fray, I think we'll be able to film.
I mean, if you thought clearing the bench last Super Bowl was epic, wait till this year.
I think now that we have some more gambling stuff, more people want to do it, I think we're going to fill spots. And we're really going to give you a full, maybe starting Friday, going all the way to Sunday. Hopefully, I'm hoping.
That'd be like the ultimate clear the bench weekend right there.
No shows, just Super Bowl, damn it. Because everyone needs 50 bajillion hours of Super Bowl coverage.
No, I don't.
If you want to go hear a benchmarks episode on the ridiculous amounts of how did that start again? It was a rain delay at a PGA event.
the Phoenix Open got rained out, and CBS had to improvise before the Cowboys played the Broncos, and they just began to interview people, and no one left the TV set. It was crazy.
But it's kind of ridiculous now, the amount of...
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I hate the NFL, but I had a fun time putting that episode together because it was so fun.
Yes, because I need to know about the athlete's middle school coach,
the high school, the coaches, the dog, the family pet,
the guys who paint the murals in their local communities, or the chef that made the local food.
What the host stadium is serving on the menu.
Oh, Jesus, it's enough. I honestly will tell you, I do not turn it on until about a half an hour before the game starts. And that's me being real. I wait till about a half an hour before. I like to watch the real, I jokingly call it the real pre-show, 30 minutes before. Because they're literally, let's just call a spade a spade. They're literally doing pre-shows for a week or more, depending. Because
pretty much.
And Radio Row is just a stupidity
influencer row. Come on now, it's influencer row.
Can we just call it influencer row at this point?
Yeah,
I mean, but that'll do it. You got 2 press row episodes in the span of a day. You're welcome, America. That's all I got to say.
I want my bonus pay now for having to do 2 shows in one day.
I wish we got paid to do this.
Eventually.
Eventually. If we can hit those 4,000 fucking watch hours. But thank you. Yes. YouTube.com/UTB Network. Yes, we're a broken record. Get over it, people. Thank you. 365 people watching us blabber and whatever.
That's one person for every day out of the year.
A year? Oh, man. But when's our next show again? The 29th?
Let's see. Yes.
Oh, good. I remembered. Next show, April 29th, our actual next episode of Press Row. 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. If you did miss our interview with Alan Shipnuck, golf insider, 30-plus years in the industry, wrote a ton of books for golf, including Live, which we spent about a half an hour discussing, and how Bryson DeChambeau's a complete dickhead. Yeah, that I treat Bryson DeChambeau like Angel Reese. You're welcome. That's more of an inside joke than anything. I'm going to stop babbling now because it's almost 3 a.m. here, and we have a day of draft coverage to get ready for. So, any last words or your last thought on this story?
I think my last thoughts are it's only going to get weirder, I think. I think that they may put a temporary hold on the story until the draft is over, and then it all picks up again on Monday. But again, I'll say it again. If you're a NFL fan, which again, I'm not, but even I'm hoping and praying that nothing happens tomorrow when it comes to the story.
Because, like I said, this will disrupt the draft if it comes out. I'm just going to say that now. It will disrupt the draft, and it won't be good. It's like you said, it's going to be Press Row 3.0 almost if this news breaks that they were cheating and all this stuff. How can you focus on the draft if that breaks?
You can't because now the draft, you know who the first pick's going to be. It's not much of a surprise. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza. But after that, it's I don't really care what's going on now with the story that broke.
Oh man, I can't anymore. I don't know. All right, that'll do it. Have a good night, everybody. We'll be back for the draft in about 15 hours, 14 hours, however you want to count it at this rate. But this is what we do to bring the news to everybody, even if it means being sleep fucking deprived. Because I don't even know what sleep is anymore. Speaking of sleep deprived.
Sorry.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you around.
Make it easy. Have a good night.